Hi, I'm Maureen, and we are in Ocean
Avenue,
in New London, and I am sitting with Eileen Maloney, and we are just having a conversation about the history of the Irish American Home Society. And she was an immigrant from County Roscommon, and she came in 1954. And so it's so nice of you to have me in this beautiful home you have here. And this is kind of like a little nook, like we were in Ireland.
Yes, yes.
And so as we talk, I'd like to know what brought you over here, how the ride was in the boat, where you went, and your beginnings of the Irish American Home Society.
Okay, good. Thanks, Maureen. This is lovely. And we already had our brown bread and tea and marmalade. So
yes, we did. And delicious. She has a delicious recipe.
No recipe, fistfuls and bread, spoonfuls. But anyway, I immigrated. I came to America in November. I arrived in New York on November 11th, 1954. And I add there, that was the official closing date of Ellis Island. It had been closed for maybe a year before, but that was the official date, November 11th, 1954. So I arrived at some port in New York, and on a Friday in November, cold, dark evening. My aunt, who from the north end of Hartford, Eileen Maloney, had sponsored me. In those days, you had to be sponsored by somebody, and she met me in New York. Now, she was a woman who seemed never progressed with Ireland or America. So I knew nothing about New York, and Aunt Eileen seemed to know less. So anyway, she met me, and somehow we made our way back on the train to Hartford. So when we got to Hartford, it was around 9:30 at night, and a dark evening, and the buses had stopped running. The buses, to take her up to the North End, that's how she had planned on us getting home. So she was a woman who had no qualms and never afraid to ask anything or do anything. So we were standing outside the railroad station in Hartford, and so when the light changed, when the first car that stopped by, Aunt Eileen knocked at the window and says, "Oh, my niece is here from Ireland, and the buses have stopped running, so could you give us a ride up to Clark Street up in Hartford?" So that was my introduction to the United States.
So, oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
Yeah, very different from what I'd seen. But then I went to 75 Clark Street, and Eileen, she had 7 children. They were all younger than me. I was 19. I would be 20 the following month in December. I was 19, and they were all younger than me. So, kind of a chaotic house. So, it was very different from what my vision of America was, from the movies and different things. And,
exactly.
And from the home I came from. I came from a very orderly home, and very organized, and very progressive parents. We were raised on a small farm in County Roscommon, about 6 miles outside, on the Roscommon side of Ballinasloe. So I was privileged to go to high school, to a boarding school. My mother, I don't know, I often wonder, and I was talking to Maureen about that, how, from that era, how they did what they did, or how they connected, or how they made, I don't know. But anyway, I went to boarding school and graduated from St. Raphael's in Loughrea. And I got a job with the civil service in Dublin, which was very nice job,
Very progressive.
Progressive, exactly, because some kids went to secondary school then, but usually they cycled, They were the borders. But, so I was privileged to do that, as did other of my sisters, got the same privilege. So anyway, I had a nice little job in Dublin, and I was what they call a telephonist. I worked for the Department of Post and Telegraphs at the GPO in O'Connell Street in Dublin. But anyway, I was there for about 2 years. But I had a boyfriend, I was sent down to Ballinasloe to fill in, during summer time. And I met this man. And boyfriend, so I was with him for about a year, dating. And then he was immigrating, he was coming to Boston. So he came to Boston, so I took a fit and said, well, maybe I'll go to America too, just like that.
Oh, how interesting.
But it wasn't unusual in those years for young people, as you know, to go to America.
That's right.
It wasn't unusual. But I really had no need. I had a nice job. I had a good education, But anyway, I thought I'd go. So I wrote to my Aunt Eileen, and we started the process. So anyway, I ended up here. Yeah. So my aunt, being progressive too, we weren't going to hang around. The day after I came, she was downtown to look for a job.
Oh.
So telephone company first because I was a telephonist, you don't hear that word. There's no such thing anymore. You see it in the movies, you know, where you're plugging all those things, you know. But anyway, I got a job at the Trappers.
Okay, very
A
good.
lot of Irish people worked there because they just say that they met them, the Trappers met them off the boat, you know. So, so that was good. That was very, very nice. And then within the first week or so, my aunt again, there's a firehouse up on Clark Street in Hartford, and she knew there was some Irish guys working there, so she went and asked if some of them could take her niece, who just came from Ireland, to the Irish Club. So
And that's where
it started. That's where it started. Down to the Irish Club. I might mention now too that in Ireland we had at that time, there was a big band era with beautiful ballrooms in Dublin, and that's understandable. But in every region in Ireland, in parishes, we had beautiful halls and with big bands, you know, with beautiful music and just nice halls and nicely decorated and stuff like that. And I was used to that kind of thing, you know. And we had carnivals. Some of you come from my era, I remember the carnival in Ireland, or the big tent and the big band. So we had lots of dancing, and good music. But anyway, I got to the Lyric Hall, you know.
And the Lyric Hall's on Park Street.
Park Street in Hartford, the corner of Broad and Park. Now you went to the third floor, that's where the hall was. On the second floor, I think it was on the second or first, there was a bar. So I went to the Lyric Hall, and I just couldn't believe it when I was taken to that hall. Somebody from, I don't remember who exactly took me to that, but I know that the first two men's name I remember from that era is Jimmy Droney and Pat Keane. Yeah, that's how I remember, yeah. So when I went to the Irish Club, and I said, oh my God, this is the dance hall? There was Small, there was Johnny Keane, who played the fiddle, and Larry Moran. I think that was, and I don't know who was on the drums. Really, there wasn't even. So this was the extent of the music, you know. Right. But beautiful music, yeah. So into the dancing, and then the bar closed at 9 o'clock, I think, or 9:30 or something. And then the guys, we were all upstairs at the dance. It must be the women and the teetotalers, you know, were the ones who danced. But then all the drinkers would be at the bar. But at 9:30, they would all come up, the men. So that's how I met Richard Maloney. I mean, maybe a couple of months into the thing, he asked me to dance. So he was a lovely dancer, and I loved dancing myself. So yeah, so that's how I met Richard Maloney.
Okay,
so
very good.
That was in 1954. That was 1955, probably. Yeah. We got engaged in 1956, and I got married in 1957. But in the meantime, the experience of the club, you know, it was very, at least the crowd I seemed to be associated with were very, the men drink oriented. Most of the women didn't drink, you know,
Right.
They just didn't drink.
Yeah, they enjoy the music and
enjoyed
dance.
the music and dancing. We loved the dancing, you know. And we would go to New York, even down to Manhattan. I don't know how we survived all that either. Somebody had a car, and we'd all crowd into a car, and, you know, stop halfway down to have some drinks and go to Manhattan and dance all night and come home at 2 in the morning.
Oh,
you know?
my goodness.
And
The energy
was
being
wonderful.
young, right?
It was wonderful. It was wonderful, the music. And it was all around dancing, drinking too. And then we used to go to Far Rockaway, which, as most of you know, is so far out there. And it was beautiful dance halls there. We used to go to Dublin Street in Boston to dances. So, and also, I was telling Maureen about the routine on Sunday. Of course, we all went to Mass, either St. Patrick's or the Cathedral. Or most people seem to live in that area. Around that area, you know, or in the Hartford area, Great Hartford area. So we'd go to Mass. And then up to O'Connor's Bar, which some of you would remember was on Albany Avenue. Some drinks there, then we'd congregate there, and then it was summertime, and to a football game down to Gaelic Park in New York. But we'd stop. I mean, we wouldn't just go to New York, we'd have to go at the end of the Berlin Turnpike before you get on the Merritt Parkway. There was a bar there. I think it was the first and last, and we'd have to stop there again for the few drinks, you know. And then off to Gaelic Park or one
For the football.
For the football, yeah.
So,
yeah.
As enrollment grew in the Irish American Home Society, there wasn't much room there. There was nothing for the football, there was no gathering really.
Nothing.
So then they went to Grove Street, I understand.
Yeah, but even before that, that's why we went to Gaelic Park, and we went to Boston to games. And also, I must mention, we had the Catskills, wonderful Irish area up in the Catskills. Every summer we'd go to the Catskills you know,
And have
the dancing and staying over. We stayed in cabins up there, and it just was just a wonderful, wonderful time. I mean, Morris Lynch and Mary from that era, the Moriartys, Foleys, I wish I could remember more names, O'Connors.
Right,
yes.
And in my generation, I knew the grandchildren.
The grandchildren, yes. When I hear somebody with an Irish name now, I say, is your father such and such? I say, oh no, that was my grandfather. I say, oh yeah, that's my era. You know? Yeah. But we did, we were very crowded in but then to Grove Street. Yeah. But then by that time I was married, I think. I got married in 1957. So around that time, they moved to Grove Street. Yeah, it was in the back of the Travellers. It was like a church, I guess, originally.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I heard. It was a Protestant church.
Yeah, a small church, but it was good. It was much better, you know, much wider, much better than the lyric hall. And there was a chicken house down at the back. Some of you will remember that too.
Exactly,
you know?
right at the corner.
At the corner where he sold live chickens, an Italian guy sold live chickens. It took years for the Travellers to beat him in court to take his property. So they
exactly, I remember that.
Yeah.
What a great historian you are.
I don't know.
Great historian.
Yeah, yeah. So Grove Street, yeah, that's when kind of I wasn't that. But I was involved after that. I always went to the dances. Richard Norris he was a great dancer, and we loved going to the dances. And we had great friends. We had wonderful friends, you know. Yeah.
And you have 5 children?
I have 5 children, yeah.
And they took, I mean,
Irish
what has
dancing.
their Irish dancing,
Yes.
so the Irish culture, being around the Irish American Home Society, they enjoyed the culture as well, and kind of dabbled in dancing and football and...
Yeah, not so much football, mostly the dancing. My kids are very Irish in their ways, most of them. We went to Ireland a lot. I was privileged too. I don't know how, but to be able to go, myself and my 4 kids to begin with. Myself and Maggie, my youngest, I went back in 1960. It was my first time back. And we had to, I was telling Maureen, things are so different now. I came by boat, but then it was progress going home by plane. But we had to stop at Gander Airport in Newfoundland to refuel.
And that was what, a propeller plane?
Propeller plane.
Propeller
It took us 12 hours.
I remember the storms on those propeller planes. Right?
Yes, oh yeah. Yeah, so that was something, so it's amazing. In my lifetime here in the United States, it's amazing changes. Never mind the changes in Ireland. Because I left Ireland, there was no electricity in my village. And actually, the first time I went back, it was 1960, our area, our parish in Toppnaconnell, outside Ballinasloe, had just gotten the electricity in my village.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. The night we went home, it was a storm, so the electricity went out. So,
so you were used to having no electricity, right?
Exactly.
And the open fire.
Open fire, my grandmother, I had a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful grandmother, my father's mother, and she always was around. My mother liked to work out on the farm, you know, and so my grandmother was always there and baked the bread everything was done in the open fire. Everything. Wonderful cooking, you know. The pig's pot, some of you remember that, you know.
The big black pots.
Yeah, black pots. You know, we had, we had horses and cows and Daddy plowed the fields, and, you know, we had the thrashing and all that.
Yeah, lovely.
Yes, and when I was in Ireland a month ago, down in Kerry at my daughter's house, they had a demonstration of a thrashing. They had the old thrashing machine. It was just out in the field, out in somebody's farm.
Right.
They did the whole thrashing with the.
And what is that?
It's
the hay?
No, the corn. The corn. You're too young to know all that.
Okay.
Some of the people I'm speaking to maybe would remember the thrashing machine. When the thrashing machine came to the village, you know, to thrash the corn. They did to put the sheaves of corn. And when I talk about corn, I'm talking about wheat and oats and barley.
Right.
Yeah. And there was 3 sections to it. They put the sheaves of oats, we'll say, in one section. The straw came out in one place, the shaft from the corn came out the other, and then the pure corn came out at the other end of it. It was an amazing thing, all run by belts and onto a tractor. It was so. I just saw a demonstration of that 1 month ago in Lismore, County Kerry.
Yes,
so,
when she went to visit her daughter, one of her daughters lives in County Kerry.
Yes.
In Dingle.
Yeah.
And her other children are local. Or one is in San Francisco.
Yes. And one in Bristol, and Maggie, my daughter, lives here in New London. Yeah.
So Eileen is also related to Celia Golden,
Yeah.
and through marriage.
True.
And she knew Celia and Jim Golden very well.
Oh, yeah.
And so the transformation from Grove Street to Glastonbury was
Yeah.
a little rocky because
Yes.
of transportation, and people were not ready
Yeah,
to move out into the country,
Yeah.
as they called it.
yeah.
But there was great insight from your brother-in-law, Jimmy.
Jimmy Golden, yes, he was very, very good, very progressive, you know, because it seemed outrageous to move Glastonbury. He built his own home out in South Windsor, and that seemed in the boondocks altogether, you know.
Right.
But what an amazing foresight that was. And for Glastonbury, yes, there was a lot of controversy, you know. You know, people like to drink, and they were concerned about being on Route 2, you know, and
Being able to get back.
get back.
And at that time, some people still didn't have the transportation, but there was
No.
buses now because Route 2 was being built, and
Exactly.
they still found that a little bit.
Yes, out of the way, yeah.
Out of the way.
But, you know, as it went on, it was a wonderful, wonderful thing that happened with that beautiful football field, and
Exactly.
beautiful hall.
Exactly.
Yes, yes.
And your brother-in-law actually did the paperwork for it
He
and
did.
built it
Built it,
with
yes.
a lot of the
Yeah.
volunteers from the Irish American Home.
Everybody, they had all sorts of trades, and anything the Irish did, I mean, they did it, they could do it themselves. They did it themselves. You know, Jimmy Gordon was just one wonderful man. He was also from County Roscommon, by the way, you know. And Celia Gordon, you know, that's Richard Maloney's sister.
Right.
You know, yeah, beautiful family. And I'm still very close to Deirdre, and I was very close to Jimmy Gordon down, and I visit Sean when I go to Europe. I met him in Barcelona several times, and Kevin we're in contact with, so I'm very close with all that family. You know, so, yeah, so it was a big transformation. But my kids grew up very Irish because they visit Ireland a lot, and sometimes they'd go and stay for 6 weeks, you know, in the summer, and some of them went and stayed over there for a while. So they're very involved in the Irish culture. Yeah.
So the Irish culture, the dancing still. Now, how about grandchildren? Do they participate in any dancing? Or?
No, but they're very, very interested in all the Irish thing. I have 9 grandchildren. I have 2 in San Francisco. Well, they're in college now. One is in London and one is in New York. I have 5 in Ireland. You know, Ellen's 5. And her oldest girl just came to Manhattan. She got a job at Irish Tourism in Manhattan. She just graduated from Trinity College in Dublin. She got a beautiful job in Manhattan, yeah. And then 5 in Ireland, and then I got a little grandson, 5 years old, that's 10 years old I should say. He's David's son, he just turned 10. And then I got Maggie's son, Michael. Yeah, yeah, he's very much into the arts and into fashion and into all of that, very much.
So you had an opportunity to visit the Irish American Home Society just last week, you had mentioned to me, Eileen.
Yes.
So you hadn't been there in a while because you lived down in New London.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were great surprised because you met some people that you knew the grandchildren, you knew the grandfather or the grandmother
Yes.
of the people that you met down there.
I know, it was just amazing. It was just, it was wonderful. I walked in there, I said, gee, I don't know anybody, you know. Then the fellow behind the bar Pat Sullivan happened to be a great friend of ours, from my son David from kindergarten on. And then I was sitting there with my husband Ray, and this young man came over to me and said, "Oh, Mrs. Maloney." I said, "Yeah, he's Kevin Downing from East Hartford, the Downing family I knew so well. They grew up with my kids, but I knew them long before they had kids. We knew them going to Grove Street, you know."
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing that even the grandchildren, so the culture has now being at the Irish American Home Society, meeting the grandchildren of people that you knew from so long ago,
Exactly.
and now you're seeing the grandchildren. So wonderful tribute to the Irish culture.
It's amazing. And so many times I've come across people in different circumstances, you know, with an Irish name, and I say, "You're from Hartford." I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Is your mother, I met in O'Connor not too long ago on the highway, you know," and he said his name was Joe O'Connor. And I said, "Gee, is your mother Tommy and Nora O'Connor?" He said, "Yes."
Yes.
He said, "Are you Rick Maloney's mother?" I said,
Yes.
"Yes."
It's a small world.
It's a small world and very exciting. I just have such a heart for my Irish culture. I just love it. I love going home, you know. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's been a wonderful morning. We have sat and had the tea and conversed, and Eileen has a beautiful home, and she has been such a historian. I have truly enjoyed my morning here, and you know, we look forward to you know, continuing our
Yes.
Irish culture and,
Yeah.
and enjoying the music and the dance, which we
Oh,
all
yes,
like.
yes,
And,
yes,
you know, we wish you well.
yeah, and thank you, Maureen, and thank you all. I call the young Irish, you know, Americans, Irish Americans who keep this going. There's very few of, you know, the people from Ireland that can't come anymore, and they're not interested in coming. Why would they? They have such wonderful life over there, you know.
Exactly.
So it's wonderful to see the interest in the Irish Americans, the second and third generations, and very, very grateful to them. I love when I go to the club, when I went the other night and see all those young people whose grandparents I knew, you know. So
Wonderful.
thank you, Maureen, for keeping
Well, thank
it
you.
going.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's been a lovely
Yes,
chat.
very, very nice.
Thanks so
Very
much.
nice. Okay.